With an Eastern Conference that is flooded with talent and strong teams in the mix to potentially make a run at the Eastern Conference title, the Miami Heat, despite all of the struggles they've been through all season, sit atop the conference, yet are still extremely underrated in terms of being Eastern Conference contenders. This is a team that has battled injuries, illness, personal issues, and anything in between, and have fought through this incredible adversity all year long, and deserve a tremendous amount of credit for what they've been able to do, and should 100% be considered to be one of the most terrifying teams in the Eastern Conference. Not one member on this Miami Heat squad has played in all 61 of their games, and only the Orlando Magic and Los Angeles Clippers saw their players miss more total games this season. This is where Eric Spoelstra deserves all of the credit in the world for constantly needing to mix things around to try and create the best possible lineups while his stars have been out, and he has seemingly done an almost perfect job in that sense, to say the least, as considering this team's circumstances, the Heat should be nowhere near leading the Eastern Conference in wins. Bam has had thumb surgery this season that saw him miss around 6 weeks. Jimmy Butler missed nearly a third of the season up until this point with multiple injuries. Lowry had personal issues to deal with. Tyler Hero had missed time with COVID and some lingering injuries, and the list goes on for this team. Miami's three best players in Butler, Bam, and Lowry have logged just 415 minutes together on the court this season, as that number tumbles downward to just 65 altogether when it's those three with Tyler Hero sharing the floor. Despite the lack of consistency in this lineup, this team has had the NBA's 7th best offense and 5th best defense heading into the All-Star break, and Eric Spoelstra and the Heat went 17-8 without Bam, 12-7 without Butler, 9-4 without Hero, and 8-5 without Lowry. Also, only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed, so if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind. Enjoy the video. The Miami Heat have always been known for finding gems in the NBA, whether a player is underutilized on another team, or simply just finding diamonds in undrafted players where they manage to develop them into stars or very crucial role players, and this season is a near perfect demonstration of that I will get into later in this video. The scariest part about this Miami Heat team is that they've been so successful without their top guys. Now they have their top guys back, and hopefully things can remain the same for them that way for the remainder of the season, but this team, terrifyingly enough, is about to add the two-time All-Star and Victor Oladipo into their lineup, who is set to make his season debut with the Miami Heat sometime in March. Obviously, we have no idea what kind of Victor Oladipo they're going to get, simply because he's coming off of recovering from surgery, but this is a guy that was obviously once an All-Star caliber player, and frankly, he was a 20+ points per game scorer just last season, who can also be a lockdown perimeter defender as well. The better he ends up being will clearly benefit him and the team the most, yet the lineup is already incredibly deep. It has plenty of stars, and this is going to allow him to ease his way back into the lineup until he feels 100% comfortable to play at a high level again. Even if Oladipo is half the player we're used to, the role he would have coming off the bench, if that were the case, would still be considered a massive bonus for this team in terms of depth. But the thing is, if he actually returns to even a near All-Star caliber form, this team would then look absolutely deadly, as they're considered contenders to win it all without him in my books. Probably not your typical top contender like the Warriors, Suns, or Nets if healthy, but definitely still have a great chance to do something special without him, so just imagine when they'll have him suiting up. Adding Oladipo to this team will add on to already one of the most versatile defenses in the NBA, with multiple guys, especially in this starting lineup, who can cover multiple positions and oftentimes even 1 through 5. Kyle being an absolute pest on both sides of the ball, hustling on every single play, throwing his body on the line, is an ideal 3-and-D player for this team with championship experience. Jimmy Butler, we all know him as one of the top perimeter defenders in the NBA, who goes to a completely different level in the playoffs, like we once saw in the bubble. PJ Tucker is as solid as you can get, being a player that does all of the small things on both sides of the ball. And then you have, of course, Bam Adebayo, who is one of the most nimble centers centers in the NBA who can guard whoever he switches onto with his quickness matched with his size. This team is also accompanied with the current favorite to win the NBA Sixth Man of the Year award, who's been having an incredible breakout season for the Heat, playing such a crucial role coming off the bench. We know how good the stars are on this team, as they also have Duncan Robinson playing big minutes for the Heat to stretch the floor for some of their stars. He hasn't had the season most had anticipated out of him, as he's really not been able to find that consistency shooting the ball at a high level, yet he's been one of the few that have been consistently healthy for this team. And hopefully, as the playoffs approach and more guys start to play on this team consistently, he can get his rhythm back. With all of the setbacks the Heat have had to face this season with players missing games, this team still went out every single night and remained competitive, and Coach Spoelstra evolved the rotational group of guys on this team into key pieces that will play massive roles down the stretch. Max Strus is a guy who had just barely made the Heat's roster last year out of training camp, has been practically given the green light off the bench to spray threes in game, as he hits just above 40% of his threes while taking 6 a game. Gabe Vincent has become a Kyle Lowry prototype who resembles his incredible 3-and-D nature off the bench, who grinds and is gritty every chance he gets, and has even shown that when his number gets called, he's ready to take his game up to a notch to benefit this team in the best way possible. Omar Yurtseven had been absolutely massive when Bam went out, and in those 6 weeks of him not playing, he went on to average a double-double in rotational minutes during that span. And Dwayne Dedmon is as solid as you can get, as he's just been an all-around plug-and-play big that could patch up some holes when guys couldn't suit up. And then lastly, the Heat have been able to transform Caleb Martin, a guy who was hardly getting rotational minutes last year on a sub-500 Hornets team, is now averaging more than 20 minutes a night on a contender, nearly shooting 40% from 3, while hounding down some of the league's best offensive players across 4 positions. It's simple enough to say that these guys are becoming more reliable for Spoelstra to use on the court by the day, and these guys have and will be taking reduced roles if the team were able to remain healthy up until the playoffs and get some guys back, as well as Markieff Morris, who had suffered a neck injury in that incident with Jokic earlier in the year, might be returning as well. On top of the talent at the top of this team, one of the biggest things that make them such a deadly squad is the fact that they can rely on so many guys on this team to step up and fill in for injuries and whatever may be in the way of a player playing, allowing them to still play at such a high level with practically whoever they have out there. This is huge for them, as not only could the Heat start spreading some of the minutes out among their players as they sit atop the East, this seems like it honestly won't affect their success much and allow them to get their legs fresh and aim to make a long and hard-fought playoff run that I believe they're more than capable of accomplishing. The East and even the NBA in general is as competitive as it has ever been, and the Heat play a large role in that, being one of the best teams in the entire league who have a ton of experience in not only Kyle Lowry, but also due to that run that they made in the bubble. The last thing you want to do is count these guys out of something special, as I believe they have everything you need to have a shot at a ring. The Heat would have that much needed experience that I've mentioned multiple times, two-way stars at the top of the lineup, one of the most versatile teams defensively, allowing for very few holes for teams to exploit, shooters to stretch the floor, guys that are absolutely pests defensively and can be spark plugs for your team when down, the current favorite to win the Sixth Man of the Year award, and on top of all of this, a bench that seems to get deeper and deeper to be a cushion for this team if things start to get nuts. It's honestly difficult to name what this team doesn't have this year, as this is the most competitive team this team has had since LeBron, in my opinion, but since the East is so stacked, it's going to take execution to take this team where they want to go, but having the #1 seed in the East will definitely help that out. As the regular season is nearing the final stretch, let me know your thoughts on this Heat team and if you think they can finish the season atop the Eastern Conference. As always, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that like button to help this video get shared along YouTube's algorithm, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more NBA videos like this one that I will be posting multiple times per week. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a fantastic night.